How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to a video on the 10 cheapest cars that have over 600 brake horsepower. Now, none of these cars are objectively cheap. They're all quite expensive. They're all over sort of £25,000 and they're all under £100,000. So yes, they're not like really cheap, but in terms of getting 600 brake horsepower stock, like no modifications, these are about as cheap as you'll get. I did this video before a very long time ago and I did 5 different cars and I basically just cheated by doing a whole bunch of Mercedes. But in this video, we don't just go through Mercedes, we go through a whole bunch of different cars that all have over 600 brake. Before we begin, remember that I'm in the UK, so prices in other countries may differ, and remember that whenever you buy any second-hand car, maintenance, repairs, insurance, road tax, all that good stuff is important to remember. If you enjoyed the video, remember to hit the like button, I'd really appreciate it, but without further ado, let's get into the video. First up, we have the Aston Martin DB11 with the 5.2 litre V12 engine, putting out 600 brake horsepower, which takes from 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds. This Grand Tourer was released for the 2017 model year as a replacement for the DB9, and was the first car launched since the company began working alongside Daimler. It received hugely positive feedback from journalists and owners alike as a car for every occasion: exceptional handling considering it's a Grand Tourer, stunning looks, and of course, a 600 brake horsepower motor sitting directly in front of you, dragging you along. I've never really been a fan of Aston Martin interiors, but it must be said the DB11 is a lovely place to be too, with some unreal spec options, so make sure you make the right decision on what you want in yours. The lowest you'll find these listed for is around £80,000, and many nice examples sit at around the £85,000 to £86,000 mark. There isn't much in the reliability of these, and barring a few lemons, owners are very positive about them, but they are relatively new, so haven't had the chance to show all of their potential gremlins. Running costs are expensive, as are maintenance costs, but that's sort of to be expected when buying an Aston, and surprisingly in my books, it's one of my favourite cars on this list. In ninth, we have quite a rare car here in the UK, the Chevrolet Corvette C7 Z06, which has a 6.2 litre supercharged V8 engine, putting out 650 brake horsepower, which takes to 60 in 3 seconds. As the C7 denotes, it's a 7th generation Corvette, and the Z06 appeared as the performance example for the 2015 model year. Compared to the standard C7, it gets a carbon fibre roof panel, front splitter and bonnet, as well as larger vents all around the car, including dedicated brake cooling inlets for the large Brembo brakes. It's also got a sportier interior than the standard car, with lightweight features throughout as well. Unfortunately for us here in the UK, the C7, as with all former Corvettes, didn't come in right-hand drive, so you'll be looking at an import, but enough people like them they do pop up every so often, and £80,000 will get you on with low miles on it. There are a few known problems with these that in the UK might be more difficult to sort if something goes wrong, with the main scary issue being gearbox failures, which isn't super common but requires a brand new transmission. The other key problems I could find are generally related to the electrics and build quality, but as an overall, I feel anyone who's after one of these on this side of the pond buys them as an enthusiast rather than because they like cars more broadly. Next up, it's the Ferrari 599 GTB Fiorano, named after Ferrari's test track, with its 6 litre V12 engine putting out 612 brake horsepower and a respectable 0 to 60 time of 3.6 seconds. On launch, it wasn't all positive and it maybe didn't get the hype it deserved, but as time has passed, it's becoming increasingly well loved. It is a Pininfarina design, replacing the 575M and coming in just before the F12, so it's in good company. Ferrari wanted to build the ultimate Grand Tourer, which could still be punchy on track, so gave it features like an aluminium chassis, an underbody spoiler and venturi tunnels for extra downforce, carbon ceramic brakes if you want them, and semi-active dampers for stability. It also has a typically luscious interior which you might expect from a Ferrari. You'll find these listed for a minimum of around £80,000, and 90 grand is where you'll start to find the lower mileage examples. The two main problems I can find in relation to these is the dreaded fuel pump failure on early models and some small electrical failures that impact the stereo. In the first instance, Ferrari have addressed this issue, and for the second, I'd much prefer to hear that V12 than the radio anyway. In 7th, we have the first of 2 McLarens on this list, the 650S with its 3.8 litre twin turbocharged V8 engine, putting out 640 brake horsepower, which takes from 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. It's very similar to the 12C as it was basically introduced as an update to that car, sharing the same carbon fibre reinforced chassis underpinning a modernised exterior. It also refined the majority of performance features around the car to make it handle and respond better than the 12C overall. It also got an updated interior with Alcantara throughout and carbon fibre seats if spec'd. It set a precedent for following McLarens too, and I am definitely a fan. One cool fact is that part of the design process was influenced by the hallowed P1, as as engineers used data collected from that beast to develop the aero and overall handling, and the splitter alone provided 24% aero increase over the 12C. These are depreciated nicely down to £78,000 at the bare minimum, and again 90 grand is where the lower mileage examples start to crop up. As I always note with McLarens, the majority of complaints have been related to the servicing of cars rather than the reliability in and of itself. With the 650S, build quality relating to the infotainment and the electrics has been complained about by some owners, along with a couple of other issues, but it's more the service cost to be aware of on these. Just missing out on the top 5, in 6th we have the Audi R8 V10 Plus, with its 5.2 litre V10 engine putting out 601 brake horsepower, which gets from 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds. The car has the same engine and platform as the Lamborghini Huracan, putting out more power than the non-Plus R8 while also being more focused overall with a stiffer and lighter chassis thanks to the inclusion of carbon fibre in many places where aluminium would have otherwise been. Though the interior isn't maybe as exotic as that in the Huracan, as I've mentioned in previous videos, I actually really like it. Simple and refined, but also sporty enough to remind you that you're in an absolute monster and not just a faster TT or whatever. There are also a bunch of different exterior specs on these too, so worth having a think about whether you prefer more or less carbon, for example. £75,000 is the minimum you'll find these listed for, and low mileage examples start popping up at around £85,000. The reliability on these is generally a key positive too, although repairs are expensive compared to your average car, so if something does go wrong it can be hefty on the wallet if you don't invest in extended warranty. For the money though, these are 100% a personal favourite and definitely something I hope to be cruising around in the not too distant future. If you're enjoying the video, make sure you hit the like button, I'd really appreciate it. Subscribe as well if you're new, I'm trying to hit 100k by the end of the year and I would really appreciate your support. Also Instagram at CarsWithJB, and if you want to join the Discord server to chat to me and a bunch of other nice car related people, then link is in the description. Kicking off the top 5, we have the second McLaren to grace this list. It's the 12C, specifically with the updated 3.8 litre V8 engine putting out 616 brake horsepower, which takes from 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. The car was introduced to kickstart the McLaren brand in terms of road cars, and though obviously the McLaren F1 came before it, the 12C is the first car in the most recent McLaren era. On release, the 12C didn't have 600 plus brake horsepower, but from October 2012 the engine received some upgrades and owners of older examples were given the option to retrofit these mods too, so if you're in the market for one, worth checking whether your car has had the upgrades. As mentioned with the 650S, it has an F1 style carbon fibre tub, and this style of chassis has been retained by McLaren ever since, so it's a key part of the brand's development. Yet despite its importance to the McLaren brand, these are listed for a minimum of around £75,000 and lower mileage examples start at around £85,000. These are renowned for warning lights on the dashboards though, and while specialists note that these aren't always critical errors or huge out-of-pocket problems and usually go away by themselves, it's not what you want out of a car in this price range. Gearboxes have also been known to have issues too, but even with the bad rap they get on YouTube sometimes, if you look on forums, the majority of owners love them to bits. Time for a fast BMW in this video, the F90 M5 Competition, which has a 4.4 litre twin turbocharged V8 putting out 616 brake horsepower, which takes from 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds. The F90 series M5 was the first to come as all-wheel drive instead of the usual rear-wheel drive, although that system is still biased towards the rear wheels of course, and can send all the power to the rear wheels if you so desire. Despite being an executive saloon, in 2017 it set the record for the longest continuous vehicle drift in standard spec, and the comp set a lap of 7 minutes 35 around the ring, faster than the R35 GTR, Ferrari 458, Lexus LFA and even the Veyron. Compared to the standard model, it got stiffer and lower springs as well as new wheels and a new exhaust system to match emissions, and of course the bump in power, which some have dynoed at higher than the quoted 616 brake horsepower. These have depreciated nicely down to around £58,000 at the bottom end, and you'll find some lower mileage examples at around £60,000. On forums you'll find that owners say these are generally pretty bulletproof, but a few note high oil consumption. It's probably too early to tell, but there are a lot of very satisfied owners out there, and I can certainly see why based on performance. In third we have the most powerful and quietest car on this list, the Tesla Model S P90D Ludicrous, with its dual motor setup putting 259 brake horsepower through the front wheels and 503 brake horsepower through the rear wheels, for a total of 762 brake horsepower. Absolutely nuts, helping it to get to 60 in a staggering 2.6 seconds, although this has been disputed by some journalists and reviewers. Irrespective, it's clearly quick quick thanks to that instantaneous electric power. It will do 316 miles on one charge and comes with additional cool features like autopilot, summon which literally brings the car to you when in a car park, and a bunch of standard luxury bits on the interior too. That interior comes with the classic large Tesla infotainment screen, and overall the design isn't too bad, but it's also not that comparable to other luxury cars in its class from Mercedes, Audi and BMW for example. £55,000 is around the minimum you'll pay for one of these, but you could instead get a P100D Ludicrous for an additional £8,000 on top of that. Being an electric car, the key problems to note are generally electrical, with failing door motors and the likes, but a key problem owners note is they're quite expensive to repair if anything does go wrong, and many people are reluctant to buy them second hand due to fears over battery life and build quality. As I said in the intro, I couldn't really split these cars apart as it would have completely savaged the rest of the video. So in second we have multiple Mercedes, the 621 brake horsepower S65, the 604 brake horsepower SL65 and the 604 brake horsepower CL65 Benzes all have over 600 brake horsepower and sit nicely in second on this list, as all three sit very nicely around the £40,000 to £50,000 mark, but they're also very rare, so only appear every so often. With the S-Class you have a choice of the 5th generation or the 6th generation, with the former being the cheaper, but the latter providing that extra level of modern luxury that you expect from the S-Class of Mercedes. On the SL is the R230 or 5th generation car, available from 2001 to 2011, a sports car which is already starting to age well in terms of looks, and prices are slowly going up too. And with the CL it's the 3rd generation, and this Grand Tourer has, in my opinion, one of the nicest roof lines of any car, which I know is a weird statement, but I just think it looks pretty sick. The CL and S have the more modern and well equipped interiors, particularly the S considering it's luxury focused, but of the three I'd probably have to go for the SL, as the SL name already carries a lot of weight and these are genuinely going to be good on values in the future in my opinion. All three are blessed with V12s, which is great news, but at the same time owners note maintenance and repairs can be astronomical in price if anything goes wrong, and with age they're becoming more difficult to warranty up. Either way, I couldn't ignore these incredibly powerful Mercedes, but didn't want to fill up the list with Mercs as that felt like cheating. Taking the top spot by a long way is the Bentley Continental GT Speed, thanks to it coming in at a minimum of around £27,000, with lower mileage examples available for under £40,000. It hosts a twin turbocharged 6-litre W12 engine, putting out 601 brake horsepower, which takes from 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds. And before we even go into the car, let's note that though YouTube generally overstates how unreliable these cars are, they are very difficult to work on and expensive to fix when they do go wrong. Coil packs are known for going, and head gasket leaks aren't uncommon either, as well as a few electrical gremlins. But for your money, you're getting a car that lives up to its name by doing 202 miles per hour, and in a decent state of luxury too, with Bentley offering many different specs from factory. I've even read the original spec booklets from Bentley, and there's all sorts of mad combinations people could have spec'd when buying new. It's not just fast and luxurious though, the Speed got optional carbon ceramic brakes as well as revised power steering for better feel, and updated air intakes for better overall cooling, and a more focused experience altogether. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you learned something. If you did, I'd appreciate a like, so do hit that like button. Let me know which of the 10 cars is your favourite. If I was having any, I'd probably take the R8. Massive thanks to the patrons as always, and to you guys as well for watching. I'll see you in the next one.